Hello, everyone. We have another Sunday and another set of updates about immigration to Canada. My name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. And what I'm going to do is to review the latest news about the world of immigration in Canada. And today, September 11th, 2022. And then after that, if you have any questions, you may post your questions on the chat box and I will answer your questions. Hi, Andy. Good to see you here. So, by the way, I'm using a streaming service to assist me with showing you my presentation to you, and I cannot still quite figure out how to change the input sizes. And the reason that I was a bit late today was because of that. But here we go. So please bear with me. I'll do my best, and then hopefully next week we'll manage to fix the video issues. So here, as you can see, I have a presentation, and of course not this one. Let me move to the next. Okay, so the first thing that I want to let you know that these topics in this video and channel or comments responses do not constitute official advice, so please consider that. It's just for training purposes, and if there are any mistakes, I cannot be held responsible for the content. StreamYard. I will take a look at that, Andy. Thank you very much. Good morning, Richard. Okay, so let's take a look at the presentations. So that's my introduction. My name is Al Parsai. I hold a Master of Laws from York University, a Master of Arts in Counseling Psychology. I'm an RCIC-IRB. It means that I have unrestricted license as an immigration consultant. I've been licensed since January 17th, 2011. My business, Parsai Immigration Services, is located in downtown Toronto at Sheraton Centre, Toronto. I'm an adjunct professor at Queen's University, and also I've been an instructor at Ashton College since October 2016. And I've had clients from 55 countries so far, more than 55 countries. I'm the author of 88 tips on immigration to Canada. I've written hundreds of articles about immigration to Canada, and I teach immigration to other immigration consultants as well. And today we are going to go through different pieces of news about immigration to Canada. The first thing is a reminder that still we have a public policy in place that visitors who are currently inside Canada, they may apply for a work permit from inside Canada. What does that mean? So first thing that you need to know is that when you want to work in Canada, when you want to work in Canada, you need a work permit in most cases. And to get the work permit, you usually can apply for the work permit before entering Canada. So from outside Canada, you submit an online application, and if they issue the work permit or approve your work permit, you'll be able to come to Canada, collect your work permit at the port of entry, and start working in Canada. So that is the normal way of applying for work permit for most people. Some nationalities, they may apply for the work permit at the port of entry. They don't need to apply online, and those are the people that by default they are exempt from the requirements of a visa to Canada. But what about visitors inside Canada? If you are a visitor and you are inside Canada and you receive a valid job offer, by default you may not apply for a work permit from inside Canada. So after entry, if you apply for work permit, with the exception of some of the visitors, most visitors are not allowed to apply from inside Canada, and the officers will refuse the application on administrative reasons. They say that you have applied for a work permit in contrary to Section 198 of the regulations. There are some exceptions, of course. I don't want to go to the details of the exceptions. But what we do have right now under the public policy is that until February 28, 2023, If you are a visitor inside Canada and you receive a valid job offer, then you may apply for a work permit from inside Canada and they won't refuse your application. You simply apply from inside Canada online, and then you fill out the form change of my status from a visitor to worker, and if they approve your application, you can start working in Canada. This is initially started because of COVID-19 in 2020, and then it stopped, and then it restarted, stopped, restarted, and the last time that it restarted was in March 2022, and the reason for that was the influx of many people from Ukraine, and the presence of them. The government decided to extend this policy for another almost 1 year. Remember, you need to have a valid job offer. It means that your employer needs to go through the process of LMIA, receive a positive or neutral LMIA, or they need to prove that the job offer they are offering to you is exempt from the requirements of LMIA. But at the end of the day, it's a relief that until February 2023, you may still receive those work permits by applying from inside Canada. The other piece of news that I would like to show to you, which is interesting, is a comparison about the number of applications that we have received in Canada, the number of applications that were processed inside Canada, because in the first 2 quarters, or in the first half of 2022, Canada has accepted more than 230,000 permanent residents. And this means that this year, by the end of this year, we will reach or probably surpass 430 new permanent residents in Canada, which is a record for Canada. But this table that is in front of me, it looks at some numbers to see where these uh, permanent residents will reside. So this is a breakdown of temporary residents based on different provinces. Now, in year 2020, we had a huge drop in the number of permanent residents that we accepted because of the border closures and, of course, limitations in terms of the processing of applications. As you can see, in year 2020, we had only 184,000 people that were processed, and then this is the breakdown. So for example, from Ontario, we had close to 83,000 people, British Columbia 28,000, etc. In year 2021, we went back to normal. Not only we went back to normal, we actually broke many records, and we had a total of 406,000 permanent residents in Canada. And as you can see, about 50% of those permanent residents, 45% of those permanent residents, they were people who decided to settle in the province of Ontario. Keep that in mind, that Ontario is the most populated province in Canada. About 40% of the population of Canada live in Ontario. But at the end of the day, Ontario is the first destination by far by newcomers in Canada. And you also need to know that when it comes to internal migration, moving from one province to another province, again, Ontario is number one on the list. In fact, many of the immigrants that move to other provinces of Canada, initially, they eventually end up in the province of Ontario. And in 2021, the number of people who moved to Toronto was 199,000. To British Columbia, which is the second most popular province, 69,000, and the third most popular province, Quebec, accepted 50,000, and then the rest of the provinces. Now, in 2022, just in the first half of 2022, more than 100,000 people moved to Ontario, more than 36,000 moved to British Columbia, and more than 31,000 moved to Quebec. Now, this shows that probably Ontario is losing its charm comparing to British Columbia and Quebec in 2022, and we may see more people moving to other provinces. So probably Ontario will go back to 40%. But that was an interesting breakdown of the immigration to Canada. And all of these are available, by the way, on settler.ca. You can take a look at them. Our journalists put together these numbers, and I will also post the links below this video later on. And then in terms of the latest processing times in Canada, before I show you these latest provinces, let me remind you something. And the processing times, the way that the government calculates processing times, although they have said that they have modernized it, and I don't know what exactly they did, but at the end of the day, by the way, if you have any questions, please keep posting your questions. And then after I'm done with the news, I will definitely go back to your questions and answer your questions. And so, in terms of the processing times, you need to keep in mind that the government of Canada mostly looks at the previous data. So, in other words, they look into the number of people that applied in the past and how much time it took for them to be processed. And they also look at about 80% of the applications. So, about 20% that are considered anomalies are not included in the calculations. So the processing times that I'm about to show you do not necessarily reflect what will happen in the future. Keep that in mind, but it could give you an idea that how the applications will be processed. So let's take a look at these numbers. The first one is about the permanent resident card. So if you are applying for a new permanent resident card, it takes you about 73 days to receive your permanent resident card. But if you are applying for renewing your permanent resident card, it takes about 78 days. So roughly speaking, about 2.5 months, 3 months of wait time for a permanent resident card. In terms of citizenship applications, there's a slight drop in terms of processing time because grant of citizenship application took about 27 months wait time. Now it has dropped to 26 months. But the certificate or proof of citizenship, it takes them 17 months just to tell somebody who is already a citizen that yes, you are a citizen. And resumption of citizenship means when you have, for some reason, lost your citizenship and now you want to take it back, it takes about 23 months to apply for that. Renunciation, if you don't want to be a Canadian citizen, it takes them about 17 months to process that application. So about 1.5 years that you say, hey, I don't want to be a permanent resident of a citizen of Canada. Search for citizenship records takes about 15 months, etc. So that's let me see why it doesn't work. Okay, so the next one. The next one is about family sponsorship applications. So luckily, in terms of the spouse or common law partners inside Canada, we are getting closer to 12 months standard. So right now it's about 15 months. For spouses or common law partners outside Canada, it's increased to 23 months. So it means that it takes about 2 years to sponsor your spouse or common law partner or conjugal partner to immigrate to Canada from outside Canada. And this is really hurtful because at the same time, in most cases, they don't allow that spouse or common law partner to receive a visa and travel to Canada and remain with you. Many of the families are crying, they are suffering because of this situation, and I have some of those clients right now as we speak. For dependent children, it depends or where they live. For parents, grandparents process, it takes 36 months for them to process the application, and for adopted children and relatives, again, it depends on the situation or where they live. In terms of temporary residence visa, if you're outside Canada, it varies from one country to another country, but in some countries it takes up to even 6 months for them to process a TRV application, a visitor visa application. Inside Canada, it takes about 15 days if you apply online, 29 days if you apply on paper. And this switched because in the past few months, if you applied on paper, it took you less time comparing to online. And then parents or grandparents, again, depends on which country they're coming from. And this is about super visa. For a study permit, if it's outside Canada, it takes about 3 months. And if it's inside Canada, it's about 1 month. And again, in reality, for one person to another person, it's different. For extension of a study permit, it takes about 46 days. In terms of work permit outside Canada, again, depends on the country. In some cases, it takes more than a year for them to process a work permit application. It's right now, it's crazy. But inside Canada, it says 166 days online, 133 days by paper. In reality, it could be different. And then international experience Canada again varies by country. Electronic travel authorization, or ETA, it's only 5 minutes. Again, in real life, some people, they encounter problems and it takes more time for them to process applications. So please post your questions. As soon as I'm done with the news, I will answer your questions. But what about the processing times for permanent resident applications? So for permanent resident applications, these are the average processing times. Again, remember, these are just to give you an idea, not the actual processing times that will happen to you. So Canadian experience class, 15 months. Caregiver, they didn't post anything. For provincial nominee program, it's 16 months. Remember, this is for PNP applications that they already received certificate of nomination from the province, and they have submitted their application to the federal immigration authorities to receive their permanent residence. So for the actual receiving certificate of nomination, it could take several months before they receive that nomination. But if they receive the certificate of nomination and submit their application to federal government, it takes the federal government about 16 months to apply to process their application. For self-employed persons, right now the processing time is awful. It's 41 months. It means 3.5 years of waiting. For federal skilled worker program, which falls under express entry system, it's about 26 months. So that's not what they say, that we will process your application under 6 months. So as you can see, for Canadian experience class, which is under express entry, right now the processing time is about 15 months, which is more than 1 year. For federal skilled worker program, it's 26 months, which is more than 2 years. And for federal skilled trades program, it's 45 months. So almost 4 years of waiting for somebody who has applied under FSTC or FSTP for permanent residence. Atlantic immigration program, it takes about 1.5 years. Non-express entry PNP applications is 24 months, so even more than express entry PNP applications. And Quebec selected worker, 27 months. Quebec business class, 64 months. So that's more than 5 years of waiting. Startup visa is now increased to 32 months, which is 2.5 years almost. Humanitarian and compassionate considerations, 20 months. And refugees depends on where you're applying from, but I can tell you that for inside Canada it's about 2 years, in some cases less than 2 years. Okay, so that's it about the processing times. Now let's take a quick look at Ontario, the province that I live in, and the recent draw that they made. It was a relatively historic draw. So let's take a look at that. They actually invited 1,521 candidates on September 7, 2022, which was the largest draw of the year. So on September 7th, the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, OINP, issued targeted invitations to candidates who may qualify for a provincial nomination through the Ontario Express Entry Skilled Trades stream. So their focus was the skilled trades stream. And if you go on our website, we have posted the list of knock codes. This stream gives foreign nationals with Ontario work experience in eligible skilled trades the opportunity to apply to permanently live and work in the province. By the way, skilled trades is just like jobs like welders, plumbers, mechanics, those kind of jobs. In this draw, OINP invited a total of 1,521 candidates with a CRS score between 320 and above, which is amazing. Because right now, for regular express entry system, the lowest CRS score for the last draw was 516. So as you can see here, they picked people with the CRS scores as low as 320. Similar to the previous draw, there was no upper cap on the CRS score. However, the CRS score cutoff increased by 10 points as compared to the last skill trades draw in July of 2022. Furthermore, Ontario invited candidates who had created an express entry profile between the dates of September 7th, 2021 to September 7th, 2022. So for the full year of being in the pool. And then, as I mentioned, we have posted the links of jobs on our website, settler.ca. I will also post the links below this video after I'm done with recording this live session. So the government of Canada is going to move towards online PR applications. So in other words, they are trying to make all permanent resident applications 100% online. So let's take a look at their plans in terms of who will become or which programs become online and when. So you need to remember that this does not affect previous immigration applications. So if you have submitted your application previously on paper, don't worry about it. This is about the new applications that they are being submitted. After September 23, 2022, or on or after September 2022, 2022, these programs, they will go 100% online. Provincial nominee program, non-express entry, Quebec selected skilled workers sponsoring a spouse, partner, dependent child, an eligible relative, or an orphan sibling, niece or nephew or grandchild, adopting a child through the immigration process, and rural and northern immigration pilot. On October 7, 2022 and after, Quebec selected investors and entrepreneurs, and self-employed Quebec, they become online. Remember, this is about the federal portion of their application, not the provincial portion of their application. On October 14th and after, agri-food pilot, startup visa, and temporary resident permit holders applying for permanent residence. We are talking about permit holders class. And if you are not familiar with permits holder class, I have an article on settler.ca. You can locate it. And then on October 21st, 2022, home software worker pilot, home childcare provider, and humanitarian compassionate grounds and self-employed persons will become 100% online. That you don't have the option of submitting those applications on paper from starting from October 21st, 2022 and October 28th, 2022 Atlantic Immigration Program. Now remember that all these applications could be submitted online right now. So if you intend to submit your application despite these limitations, despite these start dates, I highly recommend that even today submit them online. So this is not about the applications that you submitted previously. You shouldn't be worried about those, at least for now, unless they say something else. But for the applications that you are going to submit from today moving forward, if you're going to submit an application under any of these programs, I highly recommend that you submit those applications online. But if you want to submit them on paper, make sure to submit them before these deadlines. And then the last is about my latest articles that I have published on settler.ca. I encourage you to review those articles, read them. My latest article is from a new category that I have created for RCICs. So if you are a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, you may find this interesting. This article talks about work experience for CEC versus FSW under the express entry. I found out that this could be confusing for people. to understand what is the minimum work experience requirements for Canadian experience class, and how you calculated the limitations and the expectations of IRCC comparing to the minimum work experience requirement for federal skilled worker class. So this article compares these together. Of course, even if you're not an RCIC, you may find this useful. The other article that I have posted is about 1 year wait time for an IMPC 11 job offer for express entry. If you're applying for a work permit under IMPC 11 or as an entrepreneur or self-employed person, when you travel to Canada and start your work, we recommend to you that wait for 1 year before applying under the express entry. Why do we say that? Why do we say it is better to wait for 1 year before applying? This article explains the reason behind it. The next article is about speeding up the immigration or visa process in Canada. Can you speed up the process of your application? And especially in time and age that everything is delayed, can you do something about it and speed it up? That's an interesting article that explores the potential options that you have and the hurdles that you may face, and how you can figure out to have a better application while you are dealing with all the delays by the immigration authorities. The other one is a pitch actually for me. If you want to hire an immigration subject matter for your movies, for media, for your books, I can be the person and help you. The next one is about removing, an enforcement flag when you are crossing the border. Some people, whenever they come to Canadian border, they send them for secondary examination. They keep them there. They question them for a long time before they allowing them to enter Canada. This could be because of an enforcement flag that is attached to their application. In this article, to their name, in this article, I explain how you can potentially remove those enforcement flags. In fact, I can help you with removing those enforcement flags. So if you're interested, read that article or get in touch with me. And the last one is I have explained the express entry process in Canada and how it works. I have a flow chart there, explains that how this works and what kind of opportunities are on the way and what kind of problems you could potentially face. And now we can move forward and talk about your questions. But before we move to questions, please subscribe to our channel if you have not subscribed. Like and follow, and also share my videos with others. And you can also, for the news, visit settler.news. We have a journalist and she collects information every single day about immigration options to Canada and posts them on our website. And then for articles, you can visit settler.info and you can see the articles that I publish. Many of my articles, they are also come with videos, so you can either watch the video or read the article. And in general, visit settler.ca, our website. Okay. I'm done with the news and updates and pitches and everything. Now let me take a look at your questions. So I need to write down the name of this. So StreamYard. Okay, I remember it. StreamYard. Thank you very much, Andy, for this. Okay, Richard says, please, sir, my question is, how can a refugee claimant get married and being sponsored by his wife to get his PR? Okay, so if you are a refugee claimant and you get married in Canada, then it is a possibility that your spouse sponsors you to Canada. The main hurdle that you could face is the fact that you uh, basically may be accused of not entering a genuine relationship in Canada. So, in other words, if the officer questions bad faith, which is section 4 of the regulations, you will be in problem. They want to make sure that you didn't get married to this Canadian citizen or permanent resident just because you wanted to become a permanent resident in Canada. This is the issue that you are facing, so you have to be very careful with this. But beyond that, it is a possibility. It becomes complicated, and it depends on your identity, your previous application. If you withdraw your refugee claim, then what will happen to you for the removal orders that you could potentially face. And I don't want to go into the details of it here. If you're interested, you can book a consultation session with me. We will review your situation and your spouse, and I will tell you whether this is a good option for you or not. And if you want to go through that, what would be the steps that you need to take. But at the end of the day, bad faith is the main killer for these kinds of applications, because if the officer comes to the conclusion that the main reason for this marriage is permanent residence in Canada, which for a refugee claim, and they have all the reasons to make that happen, then they could refuse the application, especially because it's an inside Canada application. There is no right to appeal. For that reason, if somebody wants to actually go through this process, first of all, they shouldn't enter a sham marriage just because they want permanent residence. And second, if it's not a sham marriage, they need to make sure they have enough documentation and evidence to convince the officer that the main purpose of this immigration, as this application, is not immigration to Canada, or this marriage, sorry. So the next question is SSPDF. Hello, sir. My name is Philip. I'm a South Sudanese refugee in Rwanda. How can I do resettle? Okay, that's a good question. First of all, disclaimer here, I need to tell you that I do not do resettlement of refugees to Canada. So I don't have hands-on experience of refugee resettlement to Canada. I only deal with those refugee applications that are inside Canada. So I deal with people that they are already inside Canada and they want to fight for refugee and they want their representation. I can represent them to Refugee Protection Division of the Immigration Refugee Board of Canada and help them with their claim. But if you're outside Canada and you want to resettle to Canada, there are a couple of options. So one of the options is that when somebody files for refugee with the United Nations, then they can show that they're interested in moving to Canada, and they can also, if they have family members or friends that could assist them to be resettled to Canada. The other option is that if there is a private sponsorship of that person, and these private sponsorship sometimes happens through charity organizations, religious organizations, that they sponsor a refugee and move them to Canada. And sometimes it is based on a group of 5 Canadian citizens that they agree to sponsor this person for 1 year and they move them to Canada. So this is the essence of resettlement. But all these resettlements are done for people who have been already accepted by the United Nations or UNHCR as refugees outside Canada. Again, I must emphasize, I do not deal with refugee resettlement, and what I know is the theoretical part of it. The practical part of it, you need to talk to somebody who has actually done or is doing something like that. But if you're inside Canada and you want to apply for a refugee, if somehow you reach to Canada and you want to file for a refugee and file a refugee claim, by all means, I can assist you with that. So this one is from Usman. Says, hello, I wanted to ask outside Canada criminal conviction. Okay, that's a very good question, Usman. So criminal conviction outside Canada could make you inadmissible to Canada. However, the officers look into different things. And one of them is this criminal conviction considered criminal offense inside Canada as well or not? I give you an example. For example, if somebody in Iran doesn't wear hijab, that's a criminal offense in Iranian law. But not wearing hijab is not a criminal offense in Canada. So if somebody has a criminal offense or criminal conviction because of not wearing hijab in Iran, or because of being homosexual or lesbian in another country based on their sexual orientation, these are not crimes in Canada, so it doesn't matter. But if the criminal conviction outside Canada is also considered a criminal offense under the Criminal Code of Canada or other acts of Parliament, then that will be a problem. And it depends on the severity. So, if the equivalency of that crime in Canada causes a maximum penalty that is at least 10 years, then this becomes a serious criminality. But if it's just considered a indictable offense in Canada, then it is criminality. And again, if I want to go inside, delve into the details of that, that I need at least 4 hours to discuss this. But what I can tell you is that depending on the severity of that offense, the equivalency of that offense in Canada, then the way that we can handle it could be different. So, in certain situations, after 5 years that has passed from finishing your prison time and paying all your fines, etc., then you could be considered deemed rehabilitated if the offense was only summary offense in Canada. For regular indictable offenses after 10 years, that could be deemed rehabilitation. For serious criminality, you never receive deemed rehabilitation. Deemed rehabilitation means that you just apply for immigration to Canada and inform officers that you are deemed rehabilitated. If they agree with you, then you are not inadmissible to Canada. But in other cases, if at least 5 years has passed from completing your fines, etc., you need to apply for rehabilitation, which is a complicated process. It could take several months, but it could be done concurrently with the application that you are making, whether it is temporary residence to Canada or permanent residence. You can also include your application for rehabilitation. If you have criminal conviction outside Canada, it is in your best interest that you hire a professional. I have dealt with many criminal inadmissibilities in Canada, and I've applied for authorization to return Canada, rehabilitation, deemed rehabilitation, temporary resident permit, you name it, I have done it. Of course, when it comes to deciphering the criminal offense inside Canada, that's not my job. I know a very good criminal lawyer, so whenever I am dealing with a situation like this, I ask him to review the application and tell us what is the equivalency in Canada. And when we know the equivalency in Canada, then we decide how to approach this problem and how to address it and how to help you to move to Canada. Now, if somebody outside Canada committed an offense and they receive record suspension or parole, they do not necessarily become admissible to Canada. Just because that country forgave you, it doesn't mean that Canada also forgives you. So you also have to be very careful with that as well. Okay, so Gunalan Kasi says, "Good afternoon, sir. How are you, sir? I'm from India." Hi. Yes, I realize because it's morning here and it's your afternoon. So good afternoon. Akriti says, "Hi sir, my Canada PR got refused as my previous work experience reference letter did not state my wage. I have salary slips and offer letter to prove my employment. Should I apply for reconsideration?" And adding into my above question, I also wanted to know the estimated extra cost that I'll have to bear for the reconsideration. Okay, so Akriti, this is the situation. So the expectations under the procedural system of immigration in Canada is that the burden of proof is on the applicant. In other words, when you're submitting an application for your permanent residence, you need to submit enough documentation to convince the officer you meet the requirements of that application. So if the officer sees that your application is incomplete or missing something, and based on the missing information, they refuse their application, they are not at fault. So it's very difficult to argue that why the officer didn't ask you for those pay stubs. So you had to include those pay slips or pay stubs when you were submitting your application. Now, can you request reconsideration and show them that these were missing? It's a possibility, But in reality, the chances that they agree with you are slim to none, because again, they would say that you had to submit those applications initially when you were submitting your application. So do I recommend reconsideration? By all means, because it's if you do it yourself, it costs you $0. If you do it through another person, you probably end up paying a few $100s, so it's not a very expensive process. And then at the end of the day, uh, the chances of succeeding, I must be honest with you, is less than 5%. But if you want to give it a try, you can send us a private message. So you can contact actually, our contact information is below this video. You can fill out our contact form, and then we'll get back to you and discuss your options with you. But again, I must be honest with you, reconsideration success rate is very low, especially for this case. But can you do it? Of course, you can do it. Okay, so the next question, where can I get that presentation, Al? Oh, I just created Andy that presentation today. So, and then it has some mistakes on it. But just send me an email and I will give you a copy. That's as easy as that. You have my email. So Usman Bati says, I have UK drink driving conviction January 2018, which I was banned for driving 15 months. And secondly, I have fraudulently trading conviction for which I was 21 months suspended imprisonment, Canada. So Usman, your case, oh, okay, there's a question again here. I applied for Canada spouse visa, though I have Canadian child. Kindly guide me about outside Canada convictions. Many thanks. So Usman, your case is very complicated. I mean, if you have submitted your application already, I'm sorry to break it to you, but you made a mistake. When you are dealing with such a complicated case, it is in your best interest to hire somebody to help you with the process, because we are dealing with inadmissibility to Canada on grounds of criminality. Now, the good news for you is that DUI before 2018, before December of 2018, is considered criminality, not serious criminality. If your conviction is after December 12th, 2018, then unfortunately you are dealing with serious criminality, which makes it even more complicated. But at the end of the day, you are not eligible for rehabilitation yet. Having said that, if you want me to look into your case and explore your options, please contact me privately. Again, as I mentioned, the contact form is below this video. You can fill out that form, and we will get back to you. I will most likely ask you to book a consultation session to see if what would be the best course of action for you. Okay. Now, I'm not saying there is no solution to that. It's just that it's a super complicated case because of conviction inside, outside Canada. And to avoid any problems or mitigate the problems, it is in your best interest that you hire a professional to help you. So Piyush says, Dear Sir, I wanted to know when will the provincial application open for Ontario? So provincial PR application system for Ontario is always open. So this is, just give me a second, I have lighting issues. Okay, so this is what happened. Ontario moved to an expression of interest system a few months back. This means that whenever you want to enter the Ontario immigrant nominee program system, you can do that, assuming that you meet the minimum requirements. Whether it's a job over stream, international stream, entrepreneur stream, they are all open and you can submit today. It's just that they will run draws periodically, and then based on those draws, they invite people and ask them to apply for immigration. Remember the numbers that I posted about the number of immigrants that they settled in Canada. Majority of them they settled in Canada through federal programs, not the provincial programs. But many of them did this through provincial programs, and OINP or Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program is right now completely open for business. It's just that their system has changed. It's based on expression of interest, and when you show your expression of interest, when the first draw will happen for you, we don't know. It could happen 3 months from the time that you do submit your application, and if you are compatible with the rest of the population, they will select you. So I hope I answered your questions. So Ritika says, do you give consultation if yes, process? Yes, I do offer consultation. So my consultation fee is $200 for half an hour, and this is in Canadian dollars. If you go on settler.ca, and I also I believe I posted the link here. There is a link to consultation page. You can make the payments with PayPal, or you can make the payments with credit cards or debit cards depending on which country you are from. And if you cannot make those payments those ways, we also accept other methods of payment. You can contact us. Again, we have the contact form, and our accountant will tell you how to make the payments. So Pierre says, I was refused PR 7 days back, saying that the officer was not convinced with 2 of my previous employments. I have already given all the details. I had a letter from employer certifying my nature, period of job. I have my pay stubs, bank details to prove the same. So this is really unfortunate that something like that happened. If you have completed a complete set of documents and yet the officer refused your application, your best bet is to file for judicial review. For judicial review, you need to talk to an immigration lawyer, not to me. And this means that you file, the lawyer will file a leave for judicial review with Federal Court of Canada, and they will review the application. And if they find out that the officer did not follow procedure of fairness and they made a mistake in terms of the way that they process your application, they will force the immigration authorities to reopen your application. I have an article about judicial review and how you can make it happen on my website. I will, if I don't forget, I will post the link below this video as well. And you can read it and you can get in touch with an immigration lawyer to help you with the process. And I'm really sorry that this happened to you. Hopefully, that immigration lawyer will be able to help you. And then Ritika says there, I am on PGWP and working under NOC-B, but my permit expires in February 2024. Can you consultation for getting PR, my CRS? Yes, I can potentially find, I can review your situation and find what are your potential options in terms of immigration to Canada. Sometimes you need to do some homework before you qualify. Sometimes you may be qualified immediately, and I can do that after reviewing your situation completely. So if you want, there are 2 ways that you can ask us to do this. One way, we have an assessment form on our website. You can fill out that assessment form. It's free, but we only contact you if we believe that there is an option for you. But if you want a consultation session that I thoroughly review your situation and decide how to move forward, then you can actually book a consultation session with me, which that one is not free. Oh, thank you very much to you too. Again, thank you to all of you for attending this live session. I'm trying to figure out the make the live presentations better. So far I'm halfway towards making them better. By the way, during the week I'm going to publish at least one more video, so please subscribe to our channel, enable notifications. Those people who don't know me, my name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I can show you this. And I have been an immigration consultant since January 17, 2011, with clients from 55 plus countries so far. And I also teach at Queen's University, the Law School of Queen's University, and at Ashton College. I have multiple articles on settler.ca. Please be kind and subscribe to our channel, enable notifications, share these videos. Every Sunday, my plan is to come back and have a live session at 10 a.m. Toronto time. Unfortunately, today I was half an hour late, and it was because of my system. I will eventually figure it out. And as Andy Rodriguez, by the way, Andy is a great immigration consultant. As he mentioned, I will try StreamYard to see if it's better than OBS. And then if that works better, then I use a StreamYard instead of this one, because no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't figure out how to fix my image issue, the video issue. Thank you again, and see you next week. Bye.